Let's talk about another brand that I really like, which I feel is really useful for artists. This is a brand called Twsbi. I believe they're a brand from Taiwan. Um, a couple of things I think make them really good for artists. This is, I think, just about my favorite pen. This is called the Twsbi Eco. Um, why do I like it? Well, first of all, I like the fact that it is clear. It's a piston filler. It has really good ink capacity. This pen is relatively inexpensive. I believe it's probably around $30. So I'm not afraid to lose it, throw it in my bag. I think that's a pretty important requirement for artists. We work in our studio. We have a bunch of materials around. We don't want to work with pens that are super expensive that we have to baby and keep in a case. So the Twsbi is definitely, some of them anyway, definitely fulfill that requirement. Look, it writes really well. This pen is an extra fine. I tend to prefer extra fine pens. And for an extra fine, it's pretty smooth. And if I press down, I can actually tease out a little bit of line variation. It works really well in reverse, so I can get a really light, extra fine line that's not terribly scratchy. Really good all-around pen. Now, Twsbi has a big range of pens. All of them are pretty good. I don't have all of them, but I'll show you the ones that I do have. So first of all, before I do, the Twsbi Eco is inexpensive enough that I have a couple of models. So I have another one. I believe this is also an extra fine. But look, I like the ability to have different inks in my pens. So this one has my traditional Noodler's Black, which is waterproof, which I combine with watercolor, and this one has a green in it. And then this one's really special, I think. This is, they come in different colors, obviously. This one has white ink in it. The white ink is made by De Atramentis. I can't demonstrate it to you right now because I don't have tone paper. But there's another Twsbi for you, Twsbi Eco. Let's talk about the other pens. The cool thing about Twsbi is that for the price, they have all different kinds of relatively innovative filling mechanisms. If you're a fountain pen nerd, that matters. Maybe if you're an artist and you're just getting into fountain pens, it's not terribly important. The most important thing is that all these filling mechanisms give you a lot of ink capacity and allow you to switch out the inks pretty easily. So this is a slightly higher end pen. This is a Twsbi 580, and I have two of these. Yes, this is an illness. But I have these two for different purposes. This is also a piston filler. It's a little bit more nicely made than the Eco, a little bit more robust. It doesn't post, however, which is a problem. I don't like pens that don't post. But this pen is long enough that it's comfortable in the hand and it has a good weight to it. The reason why I bought these two pens is because they hold number 5 nibs, which are really easily exchangeable with lots of other nibs on the market. So I really like these. This one I really like because I got a flexible nib from Fountain Pen Revolution, a number 5 nib, and it fit perfectly into the pen, and now I have a really decent flex pen. This doesn't always work. The feeds in regular pens usually don't hold up, don't provide enough ink for flex nibs, and they usually write a little bit dry. But for some reason, this 580L feed keeps up with my flexible nib and writes perfectly. So this pen I believe is about $60. For the price, this is actually pretty cheap for a flexible fountain pen. It works really well. Now, where's the cap to this thing? Now, because the 580 has such a generous feed, you can use it also with this kind of nib, which is called a feud nib. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a nib that has a bent tip. So I have a bunch of these, and maybe I'll do a separate video on my food nib collection. But the advantage of this is that depending on the angle, I can write with a really thin line like this. Or if I tip it back a little bit, I can create a really thick line. So another way of getting line variation other than using a flexible nib is getting this kind of food nib. Now, this nib was custom made. It wasn't terribly expensive, but I had to order it from a company in Spain. And I'll attach a link to the company. I think it's called, gosh, I can't remember right now. I'll link to it. This guy makes really good custom-made nibs, all different kinds of customizations. He makes flex nibs. But this one was maybe about $30 and works really well in this Twsbi 580. I think their highest end pen is this one. So this is the Twsbi VAC 700R. The reason why I bought it is because I was really intrigued by the filling mechanism. So here we have a piston that comes down, creates a vacuum, and sucks up ink, which gives you a lot of ink capacity. Not my favorite pen, however. It's a little bit, let's face it, it's a little bit ugly. I actually, it's a little bit obsessive of me, but I took off the finish on the clip. I didn't like it. And I also switched out the nib on this one. So the nib it came with was a little bit scratchy, and fortunately this was a number 6 nib, which is one of the reasons why I bought it, because number 6 nibs are very easy to switch out. And I got another nib from Goulet Pen Company, which is an online pen seller. They sell inks. I'm going to attach a link to the video. Really good company with lots of instruction videos, and actually was my entryway into my fountain pen obsession at this time. So this is a number 6 nib. It's a very smooth writer. However, just the aesthetics of this pen are not great. The threading here can get a little bit uncomfortable. I don't like the fact that I can't move my fingers back on this pen comfortably. It also doesn't post particularly well. So not my favorite pen, and this pen is on the expensive side. It runs definitely over $60. This one's not recommended, the 700R. I would say avoid this one. However, their miniature version of their vac filler, the VAC Mini Vac, the Twsbi Mini Vac, is really great. This is a really beautiful, nice pocket pen. I like the fact that it's small, but then when you post it, it screws in and gives you a full-length pen of a good weight. The quality is really nice. This is, I believe, a number 4 nib, which is more difficult to switch out, but it writes really nicely. It's got really good line variation. And the advantage of the vacuum fillers is that they can go on an airplane without any problems. So one of the issues with fountain pens is that if you go on an airplane, the change in pressure can sometimes gush ink everywhere. So you have to empty out your pens or keep them vertical at all times so gas can escape. With the vac fillers, you can seal them off. I'm not going to get too much into it, but you can seal off the reservoir, and it's not going to leak on you. So these are excellent for travel. They've got tremendous ink capacity. I really recommend this pen if you want to get a nicer pen from the Twsbi line. On the opposite side of the spectrum, you have this little guy. This is the Twsbi Go. This is their absolutely cheapest pen. I believe it's maybe under $20, maybe even $16. It's an excellent pen. All of these have German Jowo nibs, so really the writing experience is more or less the same on all of them. The only difference is the build and the filling mechanism. So this it feels cheap. It feels like it could definitely break, especially the back of this. But it has a really cool pump filler here, almost like a syringe. It's got a decent ink capacity, not quite as much as the Twsbi Eco. Really nice pen, and this is one of the few pens that I have in medium. It posts. It doesn't have a clip, so there's a tendency to roll away, but it does have this little lanyard loop here that will keep it from rolling. And look, all these pens write beautifully. The only one I've had issues with is this one, which is kind of disappointing because it's their most expensive pen. But if I was going to get any one of the pens from the Twsbi line, especially starting in your fountain pen obsession, I would get these Twsbi Echos. They are just all around great pens, really good for artists. Again, because they're $30, you don't have to worry about them. You can get multiples. They're very easy to clean, maintain, and they write super well. Again, they have a German Jowo nib. This size is difficult to switch out, but there's absolutely no reason to switch these out. It writes great. Fantastic for drawing, the Twsbi Eco. And really, with the exception of that one pen, really good deal for the price. Good build quality. There you go, Twsbi.